Welcome to another episode of Cash Café, powered by Butterfield. I'm your host, Terry Kay, and today I have a very special guest in the studio with me. His name is Shakeem Albouy. I've known him for a very long time, and today he's going to be sharing his story from going from a music creative to a small business founder of working on an app, which is an application that helps small business owners scale and grow their business online. So welcome. I have Shakeem Albouy, the founder, CEO, all the things of Boy, which is working on it app. So thank you, Shakeem, for joining me today.
Thank you for the invite. Lovely to be here. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. So I actually want to start with the beginning of your story, your journey. What was either your first brand or your first business, and what pushed you into actually wanting to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, funny enough, I think this ties back to music. I think when I was trying to get into the music business, I had created a t-shirt line just for like merchandise. I had created the line, had customers that were interested in pre-sales. I had uploaded it to this website. I can't remember the website's name. But essentially, what I realized is that when I had PayPal connected to the website, I got the funds into PayPal, but I wasn't able to withdraw those funds into my account. So that just led me down a spiral. And then 5-6 years after that, we're where I'm at today with Boy.
So at the time, would you have considered yourself like an entrepreneur, or were you just like trying to be a side hustler and trying to figure out how to make some extra money?
Yeah, I think that I'm interested in a lot of things. And I think at that point in time in my life, that's the lane that I was going down, just trying different things, just seeing what I can come up with, seeing people that are interested into things that you create. I think like a creator would be a good word. But I wasn't necessarily an entrepreneur. I wasn't really full-time into thinking like, I'm going to make a lot of money from this, or let me try to make a lot of money. It was just like, just create a t-shirt line and sell it,
So at what point did your mindset kind of shift in taking it from just being like a side project, trying to support your music career, and thinking, okay, I could actually make this into a business, and I can actually not only earn sustainable money from it, but I can actually create a complete system around this?
Yeah, it wasn't anything involved around music. In 2019, I had the opportunity to go to Kigali, Rwanda, and teach adult students coding and web development. So I had went to boarding school and high school. So I had met a lot of friends from all across the world, and I had one close friend of mine. He actually was from Rwanda. So when I went out there, mind you, my boarding school was like a super wealthy school. Mind you, I was on scholarship, but I was able to kind of meet these people, high net worth individuals. So when I was in Rwanda, he was showing me around. He was showing me all of his friends. And mind you, this is a completely black country, but all of the CEOs, owners of construction companies, business, they were all black. And it just kind of sparked something in me as far as like, when I go back to Bermuda, I need to create something for my own. It's nice to work for someone, but to see these people and see their lifestyle, that they were just able to work whenever they wanted and enjoy life, that's kind of when something changed in me internally, I think.
So I actually want to pause on your school experience and that trip, especially because I know sometimes we forget about the skills and experiences that we have that can kind of lead us into or down certain paths. So speaking of that, like, what did you take away skills-wise or experience-wise that helped you go further with your businesses?
In terms of like on that trip, or just
in general, to be honest?
I've always been someone that's been very determined to figure it out myself. Trying to, I like to ask questions, but I never want someone to tell me the answer. I ask questions out of curiosity because it just allows me to think about things differently. I think my brain is just wired to just figure things out myself. And that's always been my way of doing things from young. Like, I would never really ask my parents to help with my homework. I would never ask help on projects. And I think that stubbornness to like figure things out in yourself, it may take longer to do, but you're learning so much along the way, and you can never be afraid to learn something, So I've always been someone that's like, okay, I'm gonna sit down for hours at a time and work this out. And coding, especially web development, is something that you need that grit, because you're learning basically like a new language. And when I went down that coding lane, mind you, I don't do coding anymore as far as to that level, but it's something that I was in a course with like 30 students, and by the end of the course, it was only about 5 of us left.
Wow.
And it was a free course. They paid us to be there. So it was the most incentive that you needed to get into a course. And even though they were paying you, it's something that's difficult, right? Not everyone
Mhm.
has that internal, like, I really want to do this, right? So, yeah.
So speaking of your drive and times when you feel like you were unprepared or you're like, this is, like you said, a new language, how did you push yourself through it? Like, what is one characteristic about yourself? Or when you think about, like, do self-reflection, what is it about you that made you be one of the five?
I just think about looking down the road and not looking at immediate like gains from something. Like I like to look 5 years, 2 years, 3 years down the line of how is this going to benefit and change my life. But also seeing it, seeing the fruits of your labor or seeing other people that are doing it. So that's why I'm a big advocate of traveling and traveling around the world. I mean, Rwanda was my first international trip, like solo trip by myself.
Okay.
This was in like 2019. Mind you, I had like no money. The money that I got from that coding course, because the government had paid us, I literally brought my ticket and had like $1,000, $1,500 of spending money for like a month in Rwanda. And mind you, that lasted me, but that trip to Africa and seeing things firsthand, seeing how things are differently across the world, it was like, oh, wow, this is a very achievable, right? And then having that long-term view of like, this can be done, but it's not going to happen overnight. And coming from that trip, having that code in bootcamp, coming back to Bermuda, 2019, and the beginning of 2020, COVID struck. I was helping the government at that time develop like a COVID tracking app. And then I was doing that for like a month. And then that's how I got into reinsurance, because reinsurance underwriting assistant role came up and they were looking for someone who had web development skills. So without having the foresight of knowing that job was going to be available, everything I had done 3 to 6 months prior to that made me look like a star, because COVID was the biggest thing in the world. And then I went to Africa to teach students. It's like, who is this guy, But 3 to 6 months before that, I was a completely different person. I was working at Gratification. I was a front desk agent. I had no real skill sets for that job to be available to me, right? But not knowing where it was going to take me, I just knew that I was going to benefit from it because it's a skill set, right? So yeah, you just can't be stuck on the immediate gains in life. I feel you got to think way long term in the future.
And then, so speaking of, that's delayed gratification. And I feel like we're in a generation where everyone wants things instantly. Like you want your likes right now. You want people to recognize you right now. For you, how do you stay grounded and kind of not just looking long term, but how do you keep yourself in that mindset? Because it's very easy to kind of get distracted by what's happening right now.
I prefer the delayed gratification. I prefer when someone doesn't see it and then it's like, oh, damn. Like, I saw, like, someone had sent me something the other day and it was like, they're there to congratulate you, but they're not there to support you along the way. Like, they're there when they see it, because a lot of people like to see things in real life, and that's fine.
Right.
But I prefer the delayed gratification, mainly because probably that's already planned in my mind as going to be a beneficial thing for me. But yeah, I don't look to the immediate,
I love that. So you were in a boot camp, a coding boot camp for a specific period of time. You're working at the same time, I assume. How did you manage potential or those moments of like burnout or feel like you're overwhelmed because you're choosing to go after something that you want to do, something that you love that's going to kind of help you long term, but you also have things to do in the present. So how do you deal with some of those difficult moments? Or how did you?
Yeah, so when I was working at Grotto Bay, I was a front desk agent, and I'm a strong believer of everything's meant to be. God has a plan for you. So this was during like the off season. So October to December, low occupancy rates as a front desk agent. You kind of get laid off in a sense. Like your days of the week get less and less. So I actually kind of did my staff a favor because I was like, look, I'm going to take 3 months off to do this coding bootcamp because it was Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. You couldn't work in anywhere else, right? So there wasn't any need for me to be there. And I just said, I'm just going to go do this course and it's going to pay me to be there. And as far as like burnout, I mean, it's a balance when it comes to sleep. It's a balance that comes to knowing like what you're capable of, but also knowing what your limits, like pushing past what your limits are. And I think that's you just got to just trial and error, see what works. If it doesn't work, like I'm not afraid to fail at anything in life. I feel like that's what makes me unique because when it comes down to it, if you fail, it's like, so what? Like, I have a story and I learned that from that, from that lesson, I would say. And I just don't let those sort of things stop me from trying to pursue something,
Nice. So let's talk about your brands because I know you've built a few things over the years.
Okay.
You did say that you helped with the COVID app that the government used. So actually tell me about that experience. Like, how did you take what you learned from the coding bootcamp and apply it to that particular app and that project?
Yeah, so that project was early onset. I was brought in as like a student from the coding bootcamp. It was me and this other guy named AJ. And we was brought in to help develop an MVP concept of this COVID tracking app. So essentially, it's like when you walk into a shop or a store, they were asking for your details and they were recording that. So if you happen to get COVID, essentially what happens is we will look your name up in the database, see who attended the shop or store around that same time frame as you, and then we would notify that there's people, right? COVID was a very different time because it was like no rules, it's like anything, right? It's like the government was trying to figure out how to handle this crazy scenario, right?
Right.
And I was just brought in. It was just fun to me because like this is the most. It was the most not I wouldn't say trending, but it was the most important thing in the world at that
Right.
time, right? And I was a part of it for Bermuda. And I didn't even get to finish the project because what happened is that I ended up getting a job in the reinsurance sector, which I just took because I just knew that was something that I needed. Like, you know, going from a salary from Gratification to getting an exam company before even really trying, you know, and that's why I try to tell people when it comes to the reinsurance industry, because I'm an underwriter now, is I always try to differentiate yourself from everyone else. If everyone's trying to go for the same goal or same position, I look at it like a football team. If you have 10 strikers on a roster and all of these 10 strikers do the same thing, like your chance of getting in their team is going to be much lower. But if you're a striker that is left-footed, if you're faster, like if you do something that's different than everyone else, and if you have a story, at the end of the day, when you get on to these interviews, first you need to get picked for interview. Your resume needs to stand out. You need to do something that's a bit different, like I say. Then when you get to those interviews, you just need to have a story that's compelling enough for them to be like, oh, this is quite interesting. Because at the end of the day, no matter what job it is, you're going to learn on the job, right? So I think, yeah, people just have to just be a little bit different and not try to. I'm not saying about designations and don't get designations, don't do these things, but think of outside the box, you know?
And so with that in mind, your current role, how would you apply some of the things that you did when you were like in the music industry? How are some things that you did back then applicable to you now? Like how are you leveraging that experience in your day job?
Yeah, so I'm an AVP currently, an underwriter professional lines. And it just goes back to the same thing as far as differentiating yourself and just creativity. I'm not someone that's was honed in on going into the insurance industry from the very onset. So I think that mindset of coming from a different background with various different job experiences, like I have a degree in psychology, and I haven't used it once coming back on the island, but subconsciously I think I've used it with people skills and even working at Grotto Bay, that's the interpersonal skills that you get at a front desk, having to manage people's personalities, manage people's behaviors and your own behaviors is something that is a skill set that most people don't learn when it comes to customer service. And I wouldn't say I'm the best customer service agent, but I knew that like I'm naturally a shy person. I'm more reserved. So just being at front desk, you kind of have to speak out. You gotta greet the guests. You're the first person that they see you handling the money. And I think that a combination of those skills is what makes me unique in my current set. Because now I'm sitting down with executives of these top Fortune 500 companies, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to present myself as I am, you know, because I've had the same sort of interactions. Mind you, is at Grotto Bay and the front desk is a different setting, but just being yourself and just being confident in yourself, I think. And then, like I said, when it comes to just creativity and thinking outside the box, it's something that allows me to just kind of keep rising in my current profession, I say.
It really does. And because I know you personally outside of this, I do see it. And I actually wanted to hone in on the fact that, you know, you have been able to take some of that thinking outside of the box and create an app that I think a lot of Bermudian businesses probably needed and didn't realize they needed. So talk to me about Boy, you know, tell people what it is, but then also what sparked you to create that app? Like, was it someone that came up to you and said something, or was it something that your own problem that you were trying to solve and you realized, hey, someone else might like this?
Yeah. It goes back to my original problem of having a product and not being able to sell it, not being able to make sales from it. The gap between creating an idea and actually having a business is too wide and takes too long. So what I'm selling really is convenience. When you get the app or you're on the website, you're able to upload all of your products, your services, your events, and get your first sale faster. So the infrastructure that I created is for a startup company to create their website, get booked for their services. You can sell event tickets, you can sell products, and then our most recent application is a payment system that I think when it comes down to it, is something that really hooks customers in, and it's like, damn, we've needed this for so long. So that concept has been chopping and changing for the past 5 years. Like how I got to this point now is I found like a product market fit that people love, but I didn't get there like overnight. Like I've changed the idea so many times of trying to like not even saying change, but reworked it and repurpose it. And like I said, travel has been very important to me. I recently just came back from Singapore, and I was living there for a year, and being in such a advanced place and seeing how things work. And I've traveled to China, I've traveled to Malaysia, Indonesia, and just taking concepts from how they operate versus like how the US, Canada operate. And even taking those ideas and really kind of taking the best of everything and kind of piecing it together and making it fit specifically for Bermuda. Because what I think that a lot of people don't realize is that these tech companies or these products that we use from overseas are not designed for Bermuda. They're not designed for Bermuda problems. So you're only really using it at 50% at what you should be using it, and you're paying the same price as what someone that's using it at 100%. So you're really at a disadvantage because you're not getting the full spectrum of what you should be getting, and you're paying more money for it. And what I developed is something that is 100% Bermudian, built by a Bermudian, and it's for Bermudians. So that's kind of the gist of it.
That was a great elevator pitch. Like if someone was listening right now, like, and they heard just that moment, they're like, you know what? Yes, I'm sold. Like I know what it's going to do for me, and I'm in. Because we often do see, as Bermudians, we go overseas, we get this experience, we get this education, and then we come home and we're not able to apply it, or we see what our counterparts in our business might be doing overseas, and we can't do it here. So speaking of that, who are some of the businesses that you've worked with, and that whether you want to say their name or like their service type, and what have you kind of seen or heard back from them as far as how Albouy has helped them get further in their journey?
Yeah, I mean, so many businesses from the 5 years that I've worked. Most recently, we have the payment solution at Game On. We've onboarded various businesses in the beauty industry. So Candia, Mama Lash. We're speaking to a lot of entrepreneurs, trying to find people from Somerset Bridge, a football team.
Okay, so, Recreation Club, yeah.
Yeah, Recreation Club, because even when you think about football games, a lot of these football clubs don't have machines at the gate and you're accepting cash. Or they're trying to get membership drives and they have a business bank account, but they don't have any online payment solution. So I'm really trying to get everybody, like, I'm going at it in a very strategic way. I'm not trying to rush. I'm being very patient. I've worked 5 years, 6 years developing it, and I'm not trying to because I have it built now, I don't want 1,000 people tomorrow.
Right.
I want to scale it, reasonably. But my overall idea is to really have a solution or platform that encompasses all of everything accessible in Bermuda. So not only a local can find it, but also tourists. So when they visit the island, they can see, oh damn, Bermuda offers all of this. Because when I travel to these countries, Costa Rica, Jamaica, I try to have a more local experience than staying on a resort of having, I think the Bermuda, not the Bermuda tourism, but just tourism marketing in general is really targeted to a specific audience, because I think the accessibility to the small SME companies is not there. Because they can't push someone from overseas to go to, let's say, a mobile massage therapist,
right?
And they only accept cash. So they're not going to push your business if they can't, if that customer can't, appropriately do business with you. You have to be up to the times. These customers are coming from places to where digital access is very easy. They're trying to use Cash App. They're trying to use Apple Pay. But if you try to say bank transfer me, they're going to look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to make something that's Bermudian made and that's proud to be, Bermudian for sake of less of words. But that tourists can, get access to, and also locals.
Let's be real. Money can be confusing. And many of us were never really taught how to manage it properly. That's why I appreciate tools like Nudge. Nudge is a financial awareness tool that helps you understand your money in a simple, no pressure way. It acts a bit like a personal money coach, sending you timely, personalized nudges about things that actually matter to you and your finances. You also get a personalized feed with easy to digest money tips, real world stories, and tools that help you stay on track, whether you're trying to save, pay down debt, or just make better money decisions day to day. Because when your money feels more manageable, your life just feels more enjoyable. Head over to nudge.butterfieldgroup.com to register today. So speaking of your team, right? And you talked about wanting to scale, organically, it's probably you that just started it.
Yeah.
You've probably onboarded people or you have a team of people that you can work with. What are some roles that you currently have filled or some people that are helping you? And when you think of you longer term, so 2 years, 5 years from now, what are some roles that you think you're going to have to put into your business in order for you to continue to scale it?
Yeah. So firstly, I'll say I built the business already having a job, right? So my idea was to build it with as much automation as possible, because really my competitors and the reason why my business is even available is because the companies or my competitors can't really onboard a lot of these businesses because they can't service them, because the cost to service them, having employees, the system's outdated. So I didn't want to replicate that by doing that with my own company. So automating a lot of the journey, whether it's onboarding, customer service, and not saying that someone can't be employed to do that work, but if I want to work in a company, if I want to work, like I basically created a company that I would want to work for because I've always been interested in technology, and there isn't a Facebook, there isn't a Google in Bermuda. So I'm creating a tech company that I would want to have to work for when I was coming out of high school. So saying that to be said, I wouldn't want to do the manual task. I would want to do something cool and interesting. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I'm in the Ignite program currently, and they're helping me. I'm at the point where I want to scale. It's helping me with investors, having those conversations, because I've never thought about a valuation of a company. I've never thought about, dang, like if I have to sell some shares, what is this valued at? Or if I want to bring on a co-founder, how am I going to give them a percentage of the company and I don't know what my company is valued at? And then when you start having a conversation, you start thinking about things differently, because now you're saying, okay, you want to come work for me. You haven't, not in general, you haven't built anything up until this point. I have 5 years of knowledge and I know everything about my company. So if you want to join with me, you have to bring something that I don't have into this current space, right? And I'm not saying that I'm a MacGyver, I know everything,
right? Because
there are things that I don't want to do, or I'm not an expert in. So when it comes to building a team, now I look at things differently. And it's crazy because when you're an employee and you don't have a business, you just do what you do, like your daily tasks. But now that I'm a entrepreneur and I'm a business owner and I'm looking at these things, I start looking at companies differently. Like dang, like it actually is a lot of work, or just the value that someone could bring to your company to make it go up or down, right? So those skill sets are definitely things that I'm looking for now. I'm looking for things when it comes to marketing, things to build out different modules and continue to expand. So I'm currently having those conversations with people. I think coming back to the island was very crucial for me at this point in time. So yeah, I'm in the Ignite program, and shout out to them because they're doing a great job with me.
I was actually going to ask if you wanted to share a little bit more about, what you've experienced so far with Ignite, because I only really see it, the little promos that they do. I've never really sat down with anyone that I know has actually done the program, and you're currently in it. So I know you haven't finished it yet, so you don't know what's to come. But from your experience so far, what are some things that you know, not just about the valuation and all those things, but what are some things that you're taking away and thinking, okay, I need to do this better or this differently in my business? Maybe not better, but differently than I probably wasn't thinking about before.
Yeah. So I would say, because I'm a stubborn person, I wanted to learn a lot of the business myself. I don't want to go to Ignite with a conceptual idea and say, hey, can you help me build this? I wanted to come in with a working product and say, I have this built, help me get to where I need to go. This is where I want to go. Help me get there, whether that's finding investors, whether that's doing that. And they have been crucial in doing that. But I think the Ignite program is good for anyone that's in that conceptual state. But I'm just different, where the point to where I don't necessarily want someone telling me what to do. Not saying that that's what they do, but I think a lot of people like, I don't want someone to deter me away from the idea that I had, because although it took 5 years to do, I learned a lot along the way and things that I wouldn't have done. But I also know that if I wasn't so sure of my business and I had someone else maybe saying, okay, maybe that's not a good idea, do something completely different. But so I would say that's the first point. The second point, as far as like network and having access to people that I wouldn't necessarily have access to. Even though I'm in the corporate world, even though I work with people, high net worth individuals all the time, having conversations with higher net worth people or people that have connections with business that are looking at you as entrepreneur and saying, oh, this person, is potentially could be the next whatever, right? I think the Ignite program has a lot of resources in that space. And it's something that, being a Black man, I'm very appreciative of, because it's not something that I can just go and just find, right? Find investors or find people. Maybe if I do something on Instagram where I'm saying I'm looking for investors,
Right.
but it's just a different way of going about it, right? I feel like this way is kind of more professional. And if that doesn't work, then I could try something different. So I think the Ignite program is good for that. And then having those conversations as far as how do you value your company? Like there's much more detailed conversations around, now if someone investing into your company, what's the payback? How long is it gonna get? How long is it gonna take for you to pay back that person?
Right.
And then you start looking at your business models a bit differently, or just refining and tweaking them. So I'm very, very much appreciative of the program. Yeah.
So I think one big kind of takeaway for someone, if they are just starting a business, or is to look into something like Ignite, or even just the resources that are available to them at that level. But if you were to look back at yourself when you first started this business, or even with your music industry career to what you're doing now, what is some advice and some lessons that you would give to your younger self to kind of help you get to where you are faster? Not necessarily saying that you would skip over the delayed gratification, but some lessons that you learned that maybe if you hadn't done that at that point, you might have gotten closer to your goal faster or sooner.
Yeah, just cutting out the distractions. Cutting out the distraction no matter what it is. Like, you really just gotta be super laser focused on what you gotta do. And I think when I was in Singapore, I didn't have a choice. I literally was out there for work. But in that environment, it was literally like working home. And I kind of had to sit with myself and just kind of reflect on, like, from the outside looking in, I can see how my life was in Bermuda, and I can see the things that I was doing wrong, or the things that I was like, dang, like, this takes a lot of time, or just takes a lot of effort away from what my real goal is. So I just say, just being much more laser focused. When you're young, you want to have fun, you want to enjoy life, you want to be around your friends, you want to be partying, or whatever the case may be. But I think, having that laser focus. And this is another point that I wanted to say. I was thinking about this the other day. All my life, I've been a footballer. I played football from when I was, whatever, first born, few years up until just recently. And like, that definitely has shaped a lot of my life. The competitiveness of being a footballer. When I was in university and boarding school, that boarding school got me to university, a scholarship university. University got me a degree. So that was a success for me. I never tried to be a professional football player. But then when I came back to Bermuda, I was reflecting on this the other day. When I came back to Bermuda, being a footballer, I was more so, I wouldn't say doing it for fitness, but because I love football, But when I look back and analyze how much time it really takes if you're training 3 times a week, if you got footballs on Sundays or Saturdays, that time is really a lot when you really look back and analyze it, and you're not making any money. Even if you get paid $5,000 for the season or whatever the case may be, you really divide that by the amount of times and trainings and football sessions you got going on, you're really not making any money. And it's not necessarily what you're not making, it's really what you could be doing. What other things you could be learning, whether you're reading a book, whether you're studying a business, whether you're traveling to just see the world and really get inspired from, I get inspired, I think everyone gets inspired from things that they see, right? Me more so than anything else. And yeah, I just think when I look back in football, I just think that maybe I just should have just reworked that time from when I got out of university and really put that into making money or starting a business. Because I love football. I wish I could like do football in the gym or like do my own fitness, but committing 5 days out the week to football is crazy.
Yeah, and you only have 7. So,
Right.
yeah, that's like literally your entire week is dedicated to something that you're not necessarily either making money
Yeah.
from or something that maybe you want to make money
Yeah.
from because it's not something that you were pursuing professionally. So I
Right.
definitely get that.
Mhm.
So your definition of success, what is it now? And if you were to think back on maybe high school Shakeem or college Shakeem, like how does it differ? Because I feel like when we're in school, we're under our parents' kind of remit, it can kind of lean to one side, but then when we get into our adulthood and we kind of start to define goals for ourselves, the definition could change. So for you, has it changed? And if it has, what is it now? How would you define success?
Yeah, for me, I would just say it's literally just freedom to do whatever you want when you want to do it. And this is why I travel, and this is why when I travel to places and I really immerse myself in a lifestyle to be like, this is how I want to live. I might get an Airbnb, a villa on a beach overlooked like infinity pool, 5 bedrooms. Like looks like I'm living a luxury lifestyle in terms of like what you may see if I put it on the gram or whatever. But for me, it's really because I'm like, dang, like this is the life I want to live. Like, let me immerse myself and see this. Let me have a private chef. Let me have a driver. Let me have someone that's in the house, like cleaning up after me. Because at the end of the day, this is how I want to live. Like coming back to Bermuda, it drives me even more to get to that point. So success for me would be getting to that point where I can have that every day of my life. Right. So that's why I'm very much a big advocate of travel, not for anyone else, but for my own just mentality.
Okay. And so one thing I do want to ask you, so you are a long-term thinker, your business, yourself as an entrepreneur, and even in your professional career, where do you see yourself? Like, what is the next step for you? Where are you going? Like, for those of us that are going to be following your journey, because after this whole conversation, I'm more inspired to see what you're doing. What can we expect? What is next?
I would say I'm taking it day by day. I have long-term goals for Boy. I want Boy to be globally in every Caribbean island. I want Boy to be something that people think like. It's funny because someone was saying to me, I'm saying Boy more than ever now, like, and like it's just funny to me. But like my goal last year was like to make Boy like a household name. Like, you may not know fully what Boy is, but you heard of it and you're like, okay, that's interesting. Like, where's the app? I'm looking for the app. People say, I'm looking for the app. Where's the app? So I would say that having it within the Caribbean. I would say having it in one Caribbean island first will be very dope for me. Whether that's Bahamas, Cayman Islands, Jamaica, that'd be super nice. Career wise, continue to be a great underwriter, continue to make those connections and build up my repertoire in that space because I feel like I learn a lot. I learned so much from being in these underwriting meetings and literally sitting down with top executives from these companies telling me exactly how they've scaled their company from point A to point B. Now, these are like Fortune 500 companies. And that's why going to Singapore was so interesting to me because I was now conversating with smaller companies, like smaller tech companies that were smaller in terms of maybe they made 10 million or 100 million in revenue versus companies that are making billions in revenue, right? But to me, it's super interesting because I tell them the other day, I feel like I'm in like an MBA, like fast track course where I just learn on the job and these skills you can transfer into your own day-to-day lives, whether that's investing and things like that. So I would say that space. I would say, I feel I'm at the age now. I wouldn't say I'm looking to settle down and start a family, but I just thinking about those things, family and like planning for those next steps of my life because I think that's important, just to be mature and grow in your own adult life and just keep being interested and keep doing dope, interesting things, keep doing things that just keep my curiosity going. I have a lot of expanding ideas to Roy. Now that I have Roy, it's so much side projects that I can do with this platform that I have, whether that's bringing other businesses on board, marketing for businesses, and building out product lines for myself. It's something.
Welcome to another episode of Cash Café, powered by Butterfield. I'm your host, Terry Kay, and today I have a very special guest in the studio with me. His name is Shakeem Albouy. I've known him for a very long time, and today he's going to be sharing his story from going from a music creative to a small business founder of working on an app, which is an application that helps small business owners scale and grow their business online. So, welcome. I have Shakeem Albouy, the founder, CEO, all the things of Boy, which is working on it app. So, thank you, Shakeem, for joining me today.
Thank you for the invite. Lovely to be here. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. So, I actually want to start with the beginning of your story, your journey. What was either your first brand or your first business, and what pushed you into actually wanting to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, funny enough, I think this ties back to music. I think when I was trying to get into the music business, I had created a t-shirt line just for like merchandise. I had created the line, had customers that were interested in pre-sales. I had uploaded it to this website. I can't remember the website's name. But essentially, what I realized is that when I had PayPal connected to the website, I got the funds into PayPal, but I wasn't able to withdraw those funds into my account. So that just led me down a spiral. And then 5, 6 years after that, we're where I'm at today with Boy.
So at the time, would you have considered yourself like an entrepreneur, or were you just like trying to be a side hustler and trying to figure out how to make some extra money?
Yeah, I think that I'm interested in a lot of things. And I think at that point in time in my life, that's the lane that I was going down, just trying different things, just seeing what I can come up with, seeing people that are interested into things that you create. I think like a creator would be a good word. But I wasn't necessarily an entrepreneur. I wasn't really full time into thinking like I'm gonna make a lot of money from this, or let me try to make a lot of money. It was just like, just create a t-shirt line and sell it, you know?
So at what point did your mindset kind of shift in taking it from just being like a side project, trying to support your music career, and thinking, okay, I could actually make this into a business, and I can actually not only earn sustainable money from it, but I can actually create a complete system around this?
Yeah, it wasn't anything involved around music. In 2019, I had the opportunity to go to Kigali, Rwanda, and teach adult students coding and web development. So I had went to boarding school in high school. So I had met a lot of friends from all across the world, and I had one close friend of mine. He actually was from Rwanda. So when I went out there, mind you, my boarding school was like a super wealthy school. Mind you, I was on scholarship, but I was able to kind of meet these people, high net worth individuals. So when I was in Rwanda, he was showing me around. He showed me all of his friends. And mind you, this is a completely black country, but all of the CEOs, owners of construction companies, business, they were all black. And it just kind of sparked something in me as far as like, when I go back to Bermuda, I need to create something for my own. It's nice to work for someone, but to see these people and see their lifestyle, that they were just able to work whenever they wanted and enjoy life, that's kind of when something changed in me internally, I think.
So I actually want to pause on your school experience and that trip, especially because I know sometimes we forget about the skills and experiences that we have that can kind of lead us into or down certain paths. So speaking of that, like what did you take away skills-wise or experience-wise that helped you go further with your businesses?
In terms of like on that trip, or just
in general, to be honest?
I've always been someone that's been very determined to figure it out myself. Trying to I like to ask questions, but I never want someone to tell me the answer. I ask questions out of curiosity because it just allows me to think about things differently. I think my brain is just wired to just figure things out myself. And that's always been my way of doing things from young. Like I would never really ask my parents to help with my homework. I would never ask help on projects. And I think that stubbornness to like figure things out in yourself, it may take longer to do, but you're learning so much along the way, and you can never be afraid to learn something, So I've always been